back parking lot. It feels so just impersonal. And those of you who have kids who attend Sharon, I would hope that you would say that is definitely not the way that we are here at Sharon. We very much try to make it feel like a family. We are a family. It takes a village to raise these kids, and we have to do it together. But unfortunately, with the pandemic and everything going on, and the regulations and the stipulations and the mandates, it's really the best that we can do. And I just felt as a mom, especially if I have a new kindergartner, a 5-year-old coming to school, that I cannot imagine sending them to school without actually talking to someone or seeing what their teacher looks like or what the building looks like. And I already know that it's hard enough when you're not going to be able to go see their kindergarten classroom at the beginning of the school year, on the first day of school. I would never want that. I don't like that either. But I don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. So all we can do is try to make the best of this situation. And no matter how much we don't like, everyone has opinions on the pandemic and all of the other things going on. We just have to respect each other's opinions. And to be honest, we don't have a choice. We have to function underneath the mandates that we're given. So that is what I ask of you guys, is just to please be patient and be flexible with us, because I promise you that we are trying to do the best that we can for all of the kids here at Sharon Elementary. Every single one of us, except Miss Castleman, but she has 25 kids every year. Every one of us are parents. Every one of us, our kids go to school here too. So we would never, all of the kids, all 750 kids are our kids. So we would never do anything to compromise their health or their safety. But I'm also going to stand here and tell you that I'm not going to guarantee you that your 5-year-old is not going to get within 6 feet of somebody. And I'm not going to promise you that your 5-year-old's not going to touch somebody else's pencil. I'm not going to stand here and give you false information, because I can't guarantee that. It's not going to happen. But we will try. We are going to try our hardest to do everything within our power to make sure these kids stay healthy, they stay safe, they feel loved, they have fun, and that they learn. And that I will promise you that we will do. We're going to make a mistake. We are going to mess up at some point. Some kid is going to touch somebody else's stuff without it being wiped down first. There's 750 kids. I promise you that will probably happen. But we're going to try our hardest to prevent any of those things. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that your kid would not be exposed to strep throat, to COVID, to anything. No one can make those promises to you. So I'm not going to tell you that. What I wanted to make sure that when you were here this evening is that you knew who we were, what our plan is, and that we're going to work hard every day and love your kid like they're our own, because they are. Every kid here is our kid. I'm going to quickly introduce some of our staff members that are here. This is Mackenzie Castleman, one of our kindergarten teachers. Ginger Barnett, another kindergarten teacher. Jill Shamley, kindergarten teacher. Kristen Bradford, kindergarten teacher. Andrea Williams is a music teacher. She also has an incoming kindergartner. Jessica Moyes, the art teacher. She has an incoming kindergartner. This is her husband, Jake Moyes, who is our Title I teacher, and their daughter, Nora, will be an incoming kindergartner also. We do have another kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Freeman, and she is not able to make it this evening. So you will see her at lollipop testing. Just a reminder that all of you should have got a reminder phone call today about lollipop testing on Friday for your incoming kindergartner to come in and take a lollipop test. We are going to have a little photo booth set up outside the main entry, where you can take a picture with your incoming kindergartner as they're coming in to do their lollipop test. And one of these ladies will come out They will get the kiddo from you. They will take them into the library, do the lollipop test, and they will bring them out to you. So we are not allowing any visitors in the building. So they'll come out and get them. You can do a little photo op outside. They'll take them to test, and they'll bring them back out to you. Same thing on the first day of school. And I know that this breaks your hearts. No one is going to be able to walk anybody into their classroom the first day of school. We're not allowing any visitors to limit interactions and limit the germs. We will have a little photo area outside that will be set up early if you want to take a picture out there. I know how awesome my kindergarten teachers are, and they take lots of pictures of the kids sitting at their desk and text them to their parents. So I am positive they will get you some pics of your kiddo on the first day of school. And I know as an incoming kindergarten parent that, as any parent, that you don't like that. But we have to err on the side of keeping them healthy. And that's our mandate right now. We're not allowed to do that. So, and to be honest with you, you would only be able to walk them in the first day of school anyway, because after the second day, we don't let anybody walk anyone in unless they come in through the office for school safety, so we know who's in the building at all times. Trying to think about the first day of school. That was the big one, is just making sure that, and any other kindergarten parent, they're going to talk about it at our kindergarten orientation and home visits, is just to be aware that we're not going to allow anybody to, and you're sitting there going, well, how's my kid going to get in? Where is he going to go? We're going to have so many staff members outside that whenever you walk them up, you'll tell us their name, or we're already going to have name tags that we're going to give you that all kids K through 5 will wear, and who's your teacher, and then we will walk them to their class. We will not expect they haven't even seen their classroom because of everything that's going on. So we will be outside, all of us, and we will help them get to where they're supposed to be. We will do that with all kids, but especially those little babies. We'll make sure we take care of the kindergartners. So I'm going to start going through the highlights of the plan, and if you have questions, I just want you to raise your hand. They're going to come over to you, and we're just going to shout them out, because I don't want this to be me standing up here talking at you the whole time. You can read the information in there. I want it to be interactive. I want you to ask questions and feel comfortable when you leave here. And I'm not wearing a mask sitting up here because you would not, or standing up here because you wouldn't be able to understand what I was saying through the muffled mask, and I'm pretty far away from you, so that's why I'm not wearing one right now. And I didn't introduce Mr. Warner, who is our assistant principal, who is videoing this meeting, because I'm really afraid tomorrow night it's going to pour down rain and our first grade parents may not have the chance to see it, so we're going to video it for them. I do want to talk a little bit about resiliency before we start. Resiliency is the power and ability to return to original form and position. And Elizabeth Edwards said resilience is accepting your new reality, even if it's less good than the one you had before. You can fight it. You can do nothing but scream about what you've lost, or you can accept that and try to put something together that's good. And I think that's what we've all decided. We've all screamed about it. We've all said all the things we don't like about some of the changes that we're having to do. But now we know that we're going to work together and make it something good for our kids and for you guys. We do have a COVID committee that is made up of teachers, administrators, our nurse, our counselor, community members, parents that have been helping us with our school plan. And I'm very grateful for that, because all of those heads are better than one. We are also taking our direction from the Indiana State Department of Health, the CDC, the World Health Organization, and any other local agencies. What we ask of you first thing in the morning is you got to screen your kiddo. Take their temperature. If they're sick, keep them home. There's not going to be any perfect attendance awards, and those of you who have other kids that have been here, you won't get any nasty attendance letters that they've been absent 10 days and they need to come to school. None of that is in effect. So if they're sick and if they need to miss 20 days this year, that's what they need to do. We, of course, will have hand sanitizer, encouraging hand washing. We are going to teach them how to properly wash their hands, how to use the hand sanitizer, things like that. There will not be any field trips at this time or any big assemblies in the gym where we have all 750 kids. Usually the first day of school, we bring all the kids in there, we get them all fired up, we introduce all of the new staff. We won't be able to do that this year. Anytime you pick up your kiddo, that you will have to, there's a buzzer in the main entry. You'll press that button and you'll be able to talk to the secretary or to me and we can see you. And if you need to pick up your child, make sure you bring your ID, because especially if you're a new parent, we're not going to know who you are, so we're going to ask for your ID. And even if it's like your second time, you might think, oh, they know who I am. Just bring it just in case, because it may be, the clerical aide may check, so always just have your ID with you. If you're picking up your child, we will call them. They will come to the office, we will sign them out, and then we will walk them, or we will watch them go right to you outside the door. Like I said, no one will be able to come in the building right now. Probably the biggest change is that if you have a student, if your child's sick and they are running a fever, then typically you would come to the office and pick them up. Well, now the state says that we have to have another area for any kid that has a fever, that they can't be in the nurse's office with kids who have asthma or kids who are just coming down to get medicine, things like that. So we have moved where our concession stand is. It's right underneath this awning. We call it Exit In. We are making that, we're going to call it the Crusader Clinic, because we didn't want to call it a quarantine room or the fever room, because we don't want kids to feel bad when they have to go there. So we're just going to call it the Crusader Clinic. And we're going to have a staff member there. And if we check a temperature and somebody has a fever, well, first we're going to wait about 5 minutes and check it, because probably some of us, our body temperature is going to be a little hot after we've set out here. And if they have a fever, they would go to the clinic, and we will have a staff member there. And we check it, it's over 100.4, then they're going to call you. You would still come to the main entry and buzz, and you're going to say, I'm Ashley Bergenschmidt, I'm here to pick up my daughter Emma, she has a fever, and they're going to check your ID, and they're going to have you walk around to Exit In, and you would just, and then we have another staff member that will be there with the radio that will release the child to you. Just simply keeping the kids who have fever away from kids who just have asthma or diabetics or things like that. So that is different. Typically, if you had a kid here before, you just come to the main entry, we'd take you to the nurse's office, you'd get your kiddo and head on home. So we are going to keep those separate. And the office staff will sign everybody out on the computer. You won't have to worry about any of that. Our staff, our custodians, we're going to continue wiping everything down. We're going to be propping a lot of doors open, so that way we're not having to touch the doorknobs and things like that. Custodians will be misting the room every night, and we're going to be sending some more videos to you that will actually show what the misters look like in the room. We're going to send a video of what it's going to look like in the cafeteria. We're going to send a video of what it's going to look like on the bus, just so that way you guys can watch it. You can show it to your kiddos to try to decrease some of their anxiety. But they will mist every room every night. They will also spray the playground equipment at 6 o'clock in the morning. But you guys know as well as I do, if they spray that playground equipment at 6, when the first group that comes out, they play on it, and there's going to be another group that comes out. And that's what comes back to us of what are they going to do as soon as they come back in from recess? They're going to wash their hands, and we're going to use hand sanitizer. And we're having frequent staff meetings and talking about when we're going to be washing our hands and high-touch areas and things like that. Buses. Face coverings must be worn on the bus at arrival and dismissal and the entire time on the bus. If they refuse to wear a mask on the bus, they cannot ride. Now, I'm going to tell you that 5-year-olds, they're going to be sliding off their face and everything else. That's a lot different than just, it'll be a kid that's just flat out saying, I'm not wearing it. If that happens, they can't ride the bus. So we're not going to say they can't ride the bus if it's slipping down and things like that. We know that's going to happen. All staff members will be trained on COVID-19 and how to deal with it. Make sure that you guys are still calling in absences and things like that. Staff members will wear masks, maybe face shields. We have some clear face shields, just so that way Some of us feel it's important that students can actually see our emotions, see our mouth. So you will see some teachers wear masks, some teachers wear face shields. And like I said, at any time you guys have questions, raise your hand and we'll just start answering them. Yes?
I have a question about the bus. Is
Yes.
there a limit to the kids who can ride the bus?
There is not a limit to a number of kids that can ride the bus. If they run out of room to be able to social distance, then they'll just add another bus to that route.
Okay.
But right now, I just met with the director of transportation today, and he says they're good right now. So they will limit, I'm not sure how many kids it is to a seat. Chris, do you know? Is it one? Like typically we would have 3 kids to a seat, and I don't know if it's 1 or 2 kids per seat, and that's why they have to wear masks because they're going to be pretty close. No birthday treats. Sometimes I know, and actually we haven't done that for a few years, that if it's your kid's birthday, you would bring in, 30 donuts or something like that. Of course, we're not doing that with handling of food and stuff like that. We will still celebrate kids' birthdays. We will announce it. We're going to put it in the Sharon Scoop. They're going to get a birthday pencil from me. The teachers are going to give them a birthday brag tag. A lot of times the teachers will let them pick different activities to do, and it will still be a great day for them. We will try to do lots of different things other than just things that don't involve food. Talked about encouraging kids and staff about washing hands during all the natural breaks, gym, recess, lunch, restroom, anything like that. We're really going to talk to the kids about personal space and arm's length. You can talk about 6 feet all day long to a 5-year-old, and it doesn't mean anything. You guys know that. So we're really going to talk to them about arm's length, helicopter arms, personal space. And those are good life skills anyway, about not being in someone's personal space. So we're really good. That's the language that we're going to use. We will be randomly checking temperatures as students are entering the building. And then also teachers may check them as they're walking in their classrooms. So some of them may get checked by you in the morning. They may get randomly checked outside, and they may get checked by their teacher. Just trying to be thorough. We will check staff members' temperatures also. Face coverings will be required for students in grades 3 and up and all staff members. Face coverings can be a mask, a gaiter, a shield. Any of those things will work. They will not have to wear a mask when they are at recess, when they are at gym, or of course whenever they're eating. Kids in grades K through 2. We're pretty much going to encourage them or say that if they're moving, they need to wear their mask. If they are moving to go in the building at arrival and dismissal, or they're transitioning down the hallway, we'll have them wear their mask. Whenever they are in their classroom, the only time they will have to wear their mask is if they are in a classroom that has a teacher or a student with high risk. If your child is in a kindergarten classroom and maybe a kindergartner in that room is diabetic, then we're going to ask that all those kids in the room wear their mask. Of course, we are just going to say, boys and girls, we have someone in here who's at high risk. It's going to be confidential who it is, whether it's the teacher or the student, but we're going to encourage them to wear their mask. We are going to have mask breaks. Just like we have brain breaks, kids have to move. How many times when you're wearing your mask that you need a break? We are going to have built-in mask breaks and brain breaks throughout the day to make sure that try to make the kids as comfortable as possible. They do have to follow Warwick County School Corporation dress code, so you can't have a mask that says Budweiser on it. Just saying. We are going to provide every kid with a lanyard, so that way they can hook their mask to a lanyard and they're not constantly falling and touching the ground. The gaiters just stay on their neck, but their masks, we're afraid they're still going to mess with it all day long. But we bought all of them Sharon Crusader lanyards for staff and students, and we're just going to hook their masks on it. And of course, we'll continue to remind them about their mask and the importance of it. Students will not be sharing equipment, sharing supplies, anything like that. If a teacher uses manipulatives, base 10 blocks, things like that for math, they will have them drop them in a box, and they will have them sanitized and wiped down before anyone would use them again. Actually, they can just set them out, and when the room is misted, they can mist them. And the mister has a 30-second kill time. So we'll make sure that we're wiping things down. Every classroom will have a gallon of hand sanitizer, Purell cleanser in the room. And I think they said some of those have 30-second to 3-minute kill time on surfaces. So teachers will constantly be wiping things down. We will, probably our kindergartners not so much, but especially our 2nd through 5th graders, we will ask them to wipe down their own area. We, of course, won't ask them to wipe down somebody else, but we're still going to teach them responsibility of keeping their area clean and things like that. At 7:45, kids can be dropped off. So, and typically, if you have a child here before, that you couldn't, at 8 o'clock bell is when they could come in the building. So we are staggering arrival. So at 7:45, as soon as they get here, they can just walk right in the building. And we will have people directing them, especially like the buses are going to go in a few different entrances. The walkers and the car riders will just go in the main entry. And there are several doors there. So we will be, if you see someone, if we see there's a bunch of kids like going towards the main entry, there's another entry under the ramp, so we'll have a staff member walk with them or direct them just to try to limit the number of kids that are entering the building at the same time. And as I said, we will be randomly checking their temperatures. When they are arriving, before they even get out of the car, just encouraging them to wear their mask. Students will report directly to the classroom. If they need breakfast, then the teacher will send them to get their breakfast, and they will eat breakfast in the classroom. If you want to send a cereal bar with your kiddo and want them to eat breakfast at their desk, that is okay. It's perfectly fine. Same thing with, we're going to encourage them to have their own water bottles. We have water bottle filling stations throughout the building. We've converted water fountains into bottle fillers. So, and it's touch-free, so they'll just put their bottle underneath there. The teachers will teach them how to use it, and it'll fill their water bottle. We'll also just have plastic cups, disposable cups that they can just drink and throw away. The PTO has extra water bottles for anyone who needs one. Make sure that you put your child's name on the water bottle. That will stay at their desk. Anybody have any questions yet? Yes?
For before school care, someone will be meeting them at the door and taking them in. Where do they pick up and how will that work?
Great. YMCA, before and after school care. Thank you. So YMCA will still come through the front circle, but they're going to have curbside drop-off and pickup. So when you pull up in the front circle, there'll be a YMCA staff. They'll check their temperature as they get out of the car. They will walk them in to the YMCA. The YMCA will utilize the cafeteria, and they are going to group the kids in pods of 12. And so they are with those same 12 kids to one staff member, keeping them socially distanced within the cafeteria. At our cafeteria tables, you can set 4 kids per table to make sure they are adequately socially distanced. So they will do that. And then in the evening, they will have somebody out standing at the curb. And when you pull up, you'll say, you know, I'm Vicki Freeman here to pick up Sebastian. And they will come out and they will call on the radio and they will bring the child out to you. So it'll be curbside drop off and pick up. It's probably actually a little bit nicer for the parents because then you don't have to get out of the car then. But that's a great question.
And on the first day, someone will come down to, if we have to use before school care the first day, someone will come down there and get them and take them to their class?
Yes, her question was, if they're at the YMCA the first day, will someone come down there and help them get to their class? Yes, so we'll have staff members outside helping bus, staff members outside helping car, and we'll have staff members in the cafeteria helping our YMCA kiddos. And sometimes we even use our 5th grade student council members to help if needed, just directing the kids. Lockers, cubbies, they will not share anything like that. They will have their own. Title I. Sharon is a Title I school, just meaning that we get extra help from the government. And as I said, Mr. Moyes is a Title I teacher. So that means if any of our kids are struggling on any concept, math or language arts, they may get pulled out for Title I to get a little bit of extra help. It's a great thing. And I will tell you that every kid, by the time they leave Sharon Elementary, will go see the Title I teacher, because you may be a rock star at geometry, but you may be terrible at algebra and need a little extra help. So all kids at some point before they leave Sharon will get some support through Title I. So they will continue to pull students. They will try to pull students from the same classroom, and they will be with the same teacher, so that we have 3 Title I teachers, so that way we're just trying to limit that contact or interaction with different people. They will wipe down desks in between kids, desks and chairs, or any high contact surfaces. Cafeteria. They will use a touch-free system. They won't have to have a popsicle stick or touch a pen pad. Like I said, the kids are going to be wearing their name tags. They'll just say their name, or they'll look at their name tag and they'll look them up by their name, so they won't have to touch anything. And students, no cash is going to be accepted through the lunch line. So we are sharing, I know we shared it on our Facebook page, and we will email it out, the Titan, where you can put money in online, so that way you don't have to worry about the handling of money. If you send money, then we'll have someone come around in the mornings and pick it up, and then have them take it, adult take it to the cafeteria. Just trying to, we don't want our cafeteria ladies handling money at lunch just because of germs, and it also slows up the line. So if you can put money in online in the Titan system, that's great. If not, then we'll collect that money first thing in the morning. We will have green dots. Oh, sorry, Vicki, go ahead.
So we can go ahead and set up their account?
Yes.
We don't have to have their student number or whatever?
If you need a student number, I don't think so. I think I just used Emma's. Have you tried to do Nora's yet, Jess? I don't think that I needed the number. So I think you can go ahead and log on to Titan, and what's really nice is it will email you when their account's getting low. Like, Emma Bergenschmidt only has $5 in her account, so then it'll email me, so it reminds me that I need to put some money in her lunch account. Yes. Yes, we will. Yeah, it is. It's on the Sharon website. Thanks, Mrs. Shamley. I have to listen so closely to see what you're saying. So it is on the Sharon website, and we just posted it, I think, on our Facebook page, the Sharon Elementary Facebook page. If you haven't liked that Facebook page, we're posting lots of information on there, just different tips, videos. I know we've probably been blowing up your email, and we're going to continue to blow up your email. Are you guys getting our email as incoming kindergarten parents? Yes. Okay. If you're not, then shoot me an email, and my card is up here with my email address on it, so that way we can add you to the system, or maybe there's like a typo in the email address that we have. So we're constantly emailing out information, just trying to keep you guys in the loop. We will have green dots placed on the cafeteria seats, and actually the kindergartners are going to have name tags to where they sit every day in the cafeteria. Whoever they sit by in the cafeteria is going to be who they sit by in class every day. And we're doing a lot of that because of contact tracing. So if there would be a student by them that would test positive for COVID, then we're going to have to answer to the health department of who was sitting within 6 feet of that child for longer than 15 minutes. So whoever they sit with in the classroom is who will be sitting at their table at lunch. Now, I will tell you that within the first 2 days, their seats might change, because Johnny can't sit by Chris because Chris talks way too much, and they are not good together. So they're going to move seats at some point. There is no way that we can keep them in the same seats forever, but we are going to try to limit that as much as possible. So they will actually have, and it'll say, Chris Warner, this is where you sit when you come in the cafeteria. And so they will have name tags all throughout the cafeteria. Kindergarten is the only grade that is going to eat in the cafeteria. Everybody else is going to be eating in their classroom. And we're doing that for a few reasons. Is just the kindergartners carrying their trays and things like that in the classroom is pretty hard. And if we only do one class in there, we can spread them out enough to be able to proper socially distance. And they will eat, like Miss Castleman will be with her kindergarten class while they eat lunch. Every kindergarten teacher will eat lunch with their class, which is a great relationship building time for them. A lot of them will sit down and have special days. That'll be a reward they'll use with their kids, as they get to have lunch with the teacher, or they get to pick a friend and have lunch with the teacher in the cafeteria. So kindergarten will be doing that. Kindergarten goes to lunch early, like around 10:30. So we will have a kindergarten snack and recess in the afternoon. We have right now we have lots of snacks that have been donated by some local churches. Snacks that are like goldfish, pretzels, different things like that. It makes sure if your child has an allergy that you let the teacher know, and then you could send in your own snack if needed. But we will be providing kindergarten snacks just because they're going to get hungry. And actually, we're going to offer snacks to everybody. We're not going to provide them to everybody, just kindergarten, but we're going to even tell our older kids, the parents, that if they need to send in an afternoon snack, they can, because in order to limit, typically we would have K1 had lunch together, 2, 3, and 4, 5. That'd be over 250 kids having lunch in the cafeteria. Well, we can't do that. So we can only have one grade level at a time having recess and one grade level at a time having lunch. So at recess, instead of like normal where they all would just run around and play, they will continue to be with their kids in their classroom. And we have different zones. So we have the playground zone, we have the track zone, we have the field, we have the kickball zone, and the blacktop. And they will play in that zone with the kids in their class for that week. And then the next week, their zone will change. They may have been in the playground zone this week. Well, next week, they're going to the kickball zone for the week. But they will only be with the kids in their class. And you'll kind of notice that's the theme. Pretty much their class is their family. That when you have 20, 25 kids in that classroom, they're just going to travel together. We're going to keep them together in lunch. We're going to keep them together at recess, just trying to limit those interactions. We will make sure that we are wiping down any equipment that they use. If they use a kickball, jump ropes, a basketball, anything like that, that we'll make sure that it is wiped down or sprayed. Any questions about lunch or recess? I'm getting ready to talk a little bit about dismissal. And then we're going to talk about some contact tracing and like what ifs, what if this happens. Okay. Dismissal is going to be a little different too. Typically, we would dismiss buses and cars at the same time, but we are going to start dismissing buses at 2:50, and hopefully all the buses will be gone by 3:05. We will be calling them on the intercom, and we will have a staff member that will be helping them get on the bus. And everything that we're doing is to stagger, to limit the amount of kids that are in the hallway, limit the exits that there are, giving them, not limit, increasing the exits that they're going out. After we dismiss buses, we'll call the YMCA kids, get them in the cafeteria, and our walkers and car riders will be last. Probably start dismissing them about 3:10, just so that way we can continue to social distance. If you are a car rider, I suggest you just stay in your car, and you can see these lines where it's a big long line around the parking lot, and then you just pull in the circle, and someone will wave them on, and you can get in or pick up your child. If you know you're a car rider, if you shoot me an email, we're going to make you a sign that says it says Lucy Barnett Shamley. So that way, when we see you pulling up, we all have radio. So we'll start saying, Mrs. Shamley, Lucy Barnett's mom's coming. So that way we can get her in a spot, ready to get her in the car and keep the line moving. So if you know you are a car rider, if you shoot me an email, I'll make sure that we get you one of those signs before school starts. If not, you can tell them at kindergarten orientation or at home visits, and they'll take care of it. You will want to, if you're walking up to get them, we have a crosswalk, so make sure that you're using the crosswalk, and that is what we call the north ramp, and you'll want to kind of socially distance from the other parents out there, and all of the kids will be under the awning, and we have different places where they will stand. But you will not want to, we're not going to allow parents to walk up there, because then we're going to have a big cluster of people. So whenever the teachers will get to know you pretty quickly, and so then they'll say, oh, there's Salia's mom, and you guys will wave at each other, and then the teacher will say, okay, you can go, and you'll make eye contact. She'll see her walk to you out, because she's going to be outside with you. The teachers will go outside with the kids that are being picked up for car dismissal and walkers. and I actually on this said there's a Jenny Peach who is one of our clerical aid. It says in here you can email her if you know that you are a car rider, you're going to be a car rider, and she can send it to you, or you can't email me and I will get the sign for pickup.
So do you email Jenny if you're going to be absent? Can you do that? You don't have to call in, right?
Yes, that's a great. She said, "Can we email Jenny if our child's going to be absent?" Yes, and you could just say, Johnny's sick. He has the stomach flu. She may require or inquire, what's wrong. If it's a fever, then there's certain things we have to do. So, if you do email, they may ask some questions about what's going on. Yes.
For the after-school program, my son
Can
might
you go get that question out there, Mackenzie? Sorry.
my son might be there one week and not the other. Is there a certain amount of kids that can go within the program?
She asked if there was a certain amount of kids within the Y. Right now, in the cafeteria, we can socially distance 112 kids in the cafeteria. So the Y was saying they could take 112. But if needed, we could open our cafeteria doors open into the gym, and we could even spread some tables and chairs out where they could take a little bit more. So she said right now that they can continue to take kids. I think last year she said they had like 106. So we haven't been over before. And our enrollment's actually down because some people going virtual. So I wouldn't see that should be a problem. So the question is, are they going to be 6 feet apart in the classroom? So the goal is that their desks, their chairs are 6 feet apart. But I can tell you there's going to be times in the classroom that they're arm's length apart. If they are sitting on a sit spot, or even if they're turning in a paper, that we're going to try to encourage them, or actually the teacher will just pick up the papers, but we are going to do everything we can to keep them at 6 feet apart with their desks, with their tables. We'll have them all facing the same direction. But I'm not going to tell you that they're going to be 6 feet apart every minute of the day, because you can, if you guys have had more than 2 5-year-olds together, they're going to trying to keep them socially distanced in the line is a challenge, but they have some great ideas of how they're going to continue to try to do that. Okay, what happens if somebody has a fever? I can tell you these guidelines are pretty tough and pretty strict. That the state has required us that if they have a temperature of 100.4 or greater, that we talked about the Crusader Clinic. A student or a staff member has to be fever-free without medicine for 24 hours if they have a confirmed illness that is not COVID. Emma Bruggenschmidt goes home with a fever and she has strep throat. She may be out on antibiotics for 24 hours. She's fever-free. I don't have to give her any Motrin or Tylenol, and I just need to bring the doctor's note that says she had strep. She can return to school. No problem. Let's say Olivia Shamley has a fever and she goes home, and Jill takes her to the doctor, and the doctor's like, she doesn't have strep, she doesn't have a sinus infection, she doesn't have an ear infection, and tests her for COVID, and she tests negative. But he doesn't really know why she has a fever. If they have a fever for any unknown reason, they have to be out for 10 days. Unless the doctor says they have some virus and then that they are safe to return to school. But if they have a fever for an unknown reason, not strep, not a sinus infection, they have to be out for 10 days. If they have been tested positive for COVID, they have to be out for 10 days fever-free. And I will tell you, those are not things that we are taking lightly. That we know that's a long time, and we know some of you that you have to work, and that is a hardship on you. And like I said, those are not Sharon Elementary guidelines. Most of these things aren't Sharon Elementary guidelines. It's the hand that we're dealt, and that's what we're going to do. Yes.
So if they have a fever and they have to go home for the 10 days, will there be stuff for them to do at home? Like I know with the bigger schools, they can
That's a great question. She said, so what if they have to be out for 10 days? What are we going to do about learning? So if they're going to be absent for anything longer than 3 days, if they're going to be out for 10, they're going to be, and sometimes we won't know, because if they don't know what it is, there's so many variables that go into it. But if they're going to be out for longer than 3 or 4 days, then we can push them over to the virtual teacher, and the virtual teacher can start just picking up and giving virtual instruction. So that way, if they're going to be out for 14 days because they have to be quarantined, then the virtual teacher can teach them for those 14 days, and then they can go back into their classroom. Let's just say you're going to be out of town for a day, got a doctor's appointment out of town. You just let the teacher know. They'll send the work home like we normally would, paper, pencil, anything that you're missing, even 2 days or 3 days. But if it's getting longer, around 4 days, then we would just set you up with the virtual teacher. Let's talk, since we're on virtual, let's talk about that. I'm really glad the way that elementary is doing it. So K through 5, that they're going to have their own, we're going to have virtual teachers, kindergarten virtual teachers, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. How many virtual teachers depends on how many virtual kids that we have. That number is changing every single day. Some parents are going virtual. Some parents are saying, I want them to be in school. So if, let's say we have 5 sections of kindergarten, and maybe we have a virtual teacher here too. The virtual teacher will come to school just like the rest of them every day, but they will be in their classroom, and there will not be any kids or anyone else in there. They will just be teaching virtually to their kids at home. And what will that look like? They're going to have a reading block in the morning. They're going to have a math block in the morning. They'll take a break for lunch. They'll log back on in the afternoon, and they'll have set times. The virtual teacher will get, so let's say if you have a child that goes, they're going to get with you and say, okay, at 9 o'clock, I need Johnny to log on because we're going to do our reading block. And I need him to log back on at 11 because we're going to do math. Now, elementary-wise, Warwick County School Corporation is not able to provide devices for K through 5 this year. They will be providing them 6 through 12. So not having, if your kid has to go home for 14 days and you don't have technology, then we'll go back to the packets and sending homework home and things like that. But it would be ideal if we could get that instruction from the teacher. So that virtual teacher will be in touch with you and give you the schedule and what it looks like. Now, they may not be in the same place that, Miss Bradford may not be in the same place as Mrs. Shamley. But we feel like if they're getting instruction for 10 days from a teacher, that's better than not getting anything at all. So they may not be doing the exact same thing or the exact place, but they're still going to be getting some good quality instruction. You guys? Yes. Yes, so let's say whenever Ms. Castleman's the virtual teacher and your son has a question virtually, is that what you're saying? So there's lots of different ways, like your chat box. Girls, you all are way more creative than me.
There's actually a hand wave button there, and the teachers will teach the kids how to do it. There's a hand wave, so the teachers will get a notification that someone's waved their hand and has a question.
There you go.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah, and even also one-on-one that the virtual teachers will build in like office hours or even one-on-one time that, she notices that when they were doing addition that, this student was really, really struggling. So she may reach out to you and say, hey, can I get him to log on tomorrow at 2 o'clock for 2 to 2:20 so we can go over this different skill? So they will actually build in some, and also just conference time that if they need, so you have questions with parents, they will build that in. Yes?
So this is worst case scenario. We shut down again.
Yes.
Would we expect to see something like that for all classes then?
Yes. She said, what happens if we shut down again? Which I would be lying if I sat here and told you that I don't think that will happen. I think at some point, somebody's classroom's probably going to get shut down for 14 days. If not, if we don't have to go back to red where everybody does. And that's exactly what it will look like. The teachers will come in and they will teach virtually actual math lessons, actual language arts lessons. It will be much better than what it was in the spring. We were not prepared. We did the best we could with the hand that we were dealt, but they've been doing a lot of training, a lot of different things for virtual instruction. So if we go back to virtual for a period of time, then they will do the same thing. So they're going to be asking you lots of questions like, do you have access to technology? Do you have an email address? So that way, if we do shut down, we can have a pretty quick turnaround to start that virtual instruction back up. Yes? Yes, and they're actually going to be recorded. So their virtual instruction will be recorded. So that way, if at 9 o'clock you and your husband are at work and they're with Grandpa, and Grandpa doesn't know how to use technology, then it's supposed to be recorded. Where that when you guys get home, that you could watch part of that. Now, I wouldn't expect you to spend 5 hours watching the videos of what happened that night. And that's something that you could just, if you were in Miss Bradford's room and she would probably say, hey, just have him do this language arts lesson. That's the most important thing. We will definitely work with you guys and be really flexible about that. Yes?
So you said there were like 3 blocks, like 2 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. Do you know how long those blocks are?
And actually there's still, I'm giving you information that's really came out 2 days ago. So they just said there's going to be a language arts block in the morning and a math block, then a break, and then in the afternoon it would be kind of like a music, art, maybe a social studies integration block, and then like teacher office hours or one-on-one time. Or if your student has speech or English as a second language or special education, then they would provide those services to them in the afternoon. So the teacher would actually set up what time, but they're not going to expect the kids to sit in front of that computer for 5 hours a day. They're going to try to break it up and do different chunks, but it's not going to be 5 or 6 hours throughout the day. And I know you guys probably want more specifics, but right now that's all the information that I have. But it's better than what we had before. So I feel like we're getting more and more information out. Those are all great questions. Yes?
Is it safe to assume there's not going to be any volleyball or sports or anything like that?
There's not going to be any volleyball.
Okay.
Unfortunately, no volleyball, but we will have, is it math ball or spell ball? One of them is in one of the clubs that we will be able to do right now. And as far as boys basketball, that's still up in the air. They just nixed volleyball for right now at the elementary level. Middle and high are still having them, but at elementary right now, they're not. Yes?
Do you know what other some extracurriculars we offered? Will there still be things like Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, or other activities?
I know that Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, they were actually asking about using the facility. But right now, the facility is going to be shut down, that we're not going to allow any outside groups in the building, just so that way we can, because also it's taking a lot of our custodians just for cleaning and sanitizing. So I know those groups are still going on, but unfortunately they're not going to be able to happen at Sharon, just because we're going to really limit who's able to come in the building.
Interested parent, because I had an older daughter that was in Girl Scouts and I went with troops. So if that was something I wanted to help do, we could put together troops that they would need to meet at the library or somewhere else outside.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, the next one, this piece of paper right here that talks about the preparation for a positive student and staff from the Indiana State Department of Health. This is what they call the mitigation plan. What happens if? The biggest thing on there is that if we have a student that tests positive for COVID and your child was within 6 feet of them for longer than 30 minutes, then they are going to have to be quarantined for 14 days. Same way with staff or anything like that. So that mitigation plan is, there's a lot of information in it. So that's why you're going to see that we're going to a lot of we're using a lot of energy to try to keep those kids traveling together. When they go to music, when they go to art, when they go to library, we're going to try to really watch who they're sitting by, so that way if we have to do any contact tracing, that we know that who they're sitting by, and we can answer some of those questions. They will still go to library. We have a contactless return system. Books will be wiped down and quarantined for 24 hours. Students are still going to go to computer. We'll wipe down the computers, the headphones. We're trying to give them some sense of normalcy, but still trying to make sure that we do everything we can to keep them healthy. I think I've already talked a lot about the virtual instruction and what it looks like. Our main modes of communication, the school website, email, our social media page. You can always call the office and we will try to answer any questions that you have. Kindergarten orientation and home visits. We're actually wrapping up. So kindergarten orientation, we are not going to have babysitting. And it's going to be just kind of like tonight, except it's actually going to be in the library, and it will be by one teacher at a time. And you have a schedule on the Save the Dates that actually tells you when kindergarten orientation is. So you'll notice if you have Ms. Freeman, it's going to be at 11 o'clock, and it's going to be in the library, and that you can bring supplies that day, but don't bring any kids. And if just one of you can come, instead of you and your husband both, that just limits the number of people. But we know we have blended families, and sometimes that can't happen. That's no big deal. If you both need to come, that's fine. We're just trying to work within the guidelines. So on the Save the Date are the actual times. We also have home visits. Our kindergarten teachers are going to come and visit on August 6th. And I'm sure one of you guys want to talk about kindergarten visits, right? Mackenzie does, right? Ms. Castleman, you want to talk about home visits?
So on August the 6th, we are going to come by sometime during the day. We understand if you work and you won't be there, we will bring postcards or something like that by if you're not there, just to give you some information. We'd love to meet your child, just to see them and make them comfortable before they come in for the first time. Of course, we have to meet outside and stay 6 feet away. But it's a fun day where we love to just come to get to know you guys and meet them for the first time and let them see our face and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Of course.
They will love pictures. I will tell you, that's going to be the hardest thing. Like, I mean, we are huggers. We're elementary school kids. Our teachers, we're wired that way. I mean, we love, like, holding their hands, hugging them. It is going to be so hard for us. We were actually talking, like, what are we going to do? Like, how are we going to, like, air hugs, air high fives, just different things that we love to do with the kids. So they will definitely take notes, signs, anything like that. So on August 3rd, you're going to get a call from one of these gals, actually maybe August 4th, somewhere around there, to let you know who your teacher is. This is something else you're not going to like very much. But be honest with you about it, that our classroom numbers are up in the air, that they're constantly changing. So whoever calls you and says, hey, I'm going to be your child's teacher, that might just be for the first couple of days of school. Because if we have, right now, we have 100 kindergartners with 5 teachers, which is 20 kids in a classroom, which is awesome. But if we keep losing kids to virtual, then we may have to make one of the teachers the virtual teacher and move a few of the other kids, disperse them between the other kindergarten teachers. I will tell you that happens every year, typically when we have to add a section because we have so many kids at Sharon. But this year, it's probably going to happen in 2 or 3 or 4 grade levels. It's going to affect a lot more. And no one likes that because you're going to be like, well, they met him at home visits. We met him at Me Your Teacher Night. I know. Like, I know that it's not ideal, but it's the best that we can do. So class, they're tentative, but we feel like it's important that you still need to have a connection with someone. You need to know that first few days, who am I sending my kid to? Where are they going to report to? Because you'd be like, well, why are you even going to assign them a teacher? Well, we have to tell them where to go the first few days. And they are all together. They do so many things similar, and so they may have, maybe they move and go to Miss Bradford. Well, maybe Miss Bradford is the one who gave them their lollipop test. So they're going to have lots of touches with the kindergarten teachers, but I just want you to know that their class placements are tentative, and that will be K through 5, just depending on what it looks like. We can enroll 20 kindergarten kids between now and the first day and have to add a kindergarten teacher. So I just wanted to make sure that we were transparent about that. Yes. Just within the first 2 days of school, unless your child's teacher is pregnant, then she's going to go on maternity leave, and we may have to get another teacher. It will be worked out within the first 2 days. Typically, I think we start school on Wednesday. So what normally happens is Wednesday, Thursday, it's worked out. On Friday, they meet the teacher, the classroom they're going to, and we transition them and we roll on. And it happens all the time. And the kids are pretty resilient, but usually no one likes it at the beginning. Yes?
Would it be possible, just kind of in general, like as their classrooms are finished up, to post pictures on Facebook so we could show them, be like, hey, this is what your classroom is going to look like, even though they can't come in?
I think you guys are taking them on some virtual tours, right? That you're going to take some videos and different things of your classrooms and post, so that way the kids could see, because we've talked about that they're not even, typically they would go down, they would be in their classroom, they would see their seat. This year is so different. That's another reason why I felt like it was important to get you here, so that way that you understood that it wasn't us just trying to be standoffish, or that we were that we were being impersonal, because that's definitely not it. We want to do everything in our power to make you feel comfortable and your kiddos feel comfortable. Yes?
And then if you needed to relocate the kids, are you taking the lollipop scores into question as you move them around?
That's a great question. She said, do we take the lollipop test into consideration when we're moving them around? That is absolutely one thing. That's one piece of the puzzle. There's lots of pieces that go into how we decide who moves and who doesn't. It may affect that if we may even have to move a kid if we have one kid who absolutely has a medical reason they can't wear a mask, but they're in a classroom where they have a teacher that is at high risk. So then that would be an easy fix where we could just move that kiddo to another classroom when we have to, with class lists or something like that. We'll look at speech with ESL, IEPs, academic needs where their lollipops are, social needs. Some of you guys have already emailed me and be like, my kid cannot be with so-and-so. It will not be good. So we'll make sure that we don't put them together if we know that. But we do use the lollipop test scores just so that way we can evenly divide the students.
And then anybody inform us of what those scores are or areas of improvement?
Absolutely. After the lollipop test, the teachers will come out. They will tell you what their score was and what they did great and what they need to work on. Those are all great questions. Yes?
When we get the call from the teacher letting us know that they'll be our child's teacher, are they going to schedule kind of like a window of time to come by on Thursday, so we kind of don't have to be home all day, but know when to expect them in general?
Well, and I know you guys have several stops, right? So will you let them know like a time, like that when you're starting, like at 8 in the morning, or some are coming at 4 in the afternoon?
We're starting about noon. Yeah.
So they're going to be starting around noon. But if they start at noon, they still may not get to your house till 3 because they had so many stops. So they're not going to start until noon. So you don't have to get up real early that morning.
Like alphabetical or like
They actually, I think you go by who lives close together, right? So that they print off their class list and they see, okay, these 3 live in South Broadview, so we're gonna cluster those. These 3 live in Andrea Court. These 3 live at this apartment complex.
now,
So
if we know that there's going to be a window where we wouldn't be home, but we really want to be there, can we email them and say like, hey, we can't be here this time, could it
and they're pretty good about I saw some of them over the summer just doing some home visits because they miss their kiddo standing outside doing some chalk art, just writing some notes to them. Those are all great questions. Any other questions about class list? Now, kindergarten dates are different. If you have an older kiddo, you'll notice on the Save the Date flyer that they're doing their Meet Your Teacher nights and their home visits on a different day, but they wanted to make sure they did home visits before kindergarten orientation. The big thing they're going to want to know is how your kid gets home, because that's a big thing. Because the kids, we're going to want to know that on how they're going to get home the first day, and that may be different how they get home every day, but we're going to want to know how kids get home. You want to answer that question, Shannon? He's asking if masks, will they need to wear them during the lollipop test, and will they have to take them off so that way you can hear them? Like, I don't know, like, there's sounds and different things like that. Well, I could hear different shields. Yeah. So the question was, during lollipop testing, will the kids need to wear a mask? And in lollipop testing, they're gonna have to be pretty close to them because they're gonna have to hear sounds and things like that. So we would ask that they would wear a mask. If they don't, the teachers are gonna be wearing a shield anyway. But kindergarten is not mandatory unless they have an extenuating health circumstance, or unless one of the teachers do. But if they're going to be closer than 6 feet because they're going to have to sit close to them and hear. So I would encourage them to wear a mask. Any other questions? That's all I have, unless you guys have anything else. Teachers, staff, you guys have anything that I have forgotten? Any other questions? Yes. If she's going to do virtual learning, it would be nice to do the lollipop just because it kind of gives us some strengths and weaknesses of where to start at. If you don't want to, then you don't have to. Yeah, and I like it just because it kind of gives you as a mom, like, okay, this is where they are. A 69 is the highest score. That's perfect. And we have kids that will get anywhere in between from a 69 to a 9. And so don't worry and stress about what that score is. Because I could tell you we've had kids that get an 18 in August, and when they leave in May, they'll test them again, some of them, and they'll get a 69. So I'm not worried about that. We're going to be doing a lot of things about social emotional learning and trying to make sure that the kids are comfortable. You know, it is going to look different with people wearing masks, and they've been home since, well, you guys have been home because they're incoming kindergartners, but even our first grade, second grade, you know, all of our kiddos have been home since March, so it's going to be an adjustment. We're going to be doing lots of procedures and routines and just emotional identification, trying to decrease their anxiety, a lot of movement breaks and things like that because they're going to need it. Any other questions? If you don't want to shout out a question and you want to just come up and ask us, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to come and participate, support Sharon Elementary, support your kiddo. We really, really appreciate it, and we look forward to working with you. I told the teachers that it's definitely going to take a village. It always takes a village, but even more this year than any. We're going to really try. We're probably going to over communicate with you. I know you might be like, will you please quit sending me emails? But I know that I would want to know what's going on, and so I don't want you to be like, well, I don't want to email him. I don't want to bother him. Ask. We want you to ask. Don't worry. And I always tell our kindergarten parents that we won't believe everything that they tell you about you, if you don't believe everything that they tell you about us. Because I could tell you some pretty hilarious things that come out of kindergarten. Mrs. Shamley loves to send me pictures that her kindergartners draw, or things that her kindergartners say about, you know, my mom's favorite drink. Like, she just drinks wine every night and goes to bed. And so I mean, you would not believe, like, I have like a little book that I just write down things that kindergartners say. And it is hilarious. So I always tell our kindergarten parents that we won't believe everything they say about you if you don't believe everything they say about us, because those kindergartners are great. When I'm having a bad day, I love going to kindergarten because they make me smile. It's a different animal.
Okay, on the whole blended family thing, gonna have one of those. Can we get more than one name tag to put in a vehicle?
Absolutely. If you just say, I need 2 or 3, and maybe you have a grandparent that's going to pick up someday.
Yeah, well, I have guardianship for my granddaughter, but her parents can also pick her up. So whoever's teacher, do I need to write that in her little notebook so they know who's gonna get her, but she'll still have her name plaque? Because it could vary at some point.
Yes, anytime that their dismissal is going to change or somebody different, if you just write a note in their agenda book, they use Class Dojo and lots of different ways to communicate, and so you can agenda book or Classroom Dojo, but they'll send that to you. Yes, ma'am.
Can you get that question?
So yes, you do not, if you came tonight and you have a 4th grader or a 5th grader, you don't need to come again. We're going to go through the same procedures. The only things that are different are the meet your teacher night dates and the home visit dates, but all of the other information is the same. So I definitely wouldn't make you sit through this boring presentation twice, unless you really want to, but you don't I wouldn't either, trust me. But you don't, so no, you don't need to come again.
Are they doing the PTO or PTAs for kindergarten during the COVID? Or?
We still will have the PTO, and we will have PTO meetings, but they may be virtual. We're still trying to kind of work on what that's going to look like, but the PTO will still exist. Like everything else, it's just going to look a little different. So at any time you guys have questions, concerns, we're together. It's a village. It's going to take all of us to get through this year more than any other. So please don't hesitate to call or email if you guys have any questions. Yes. Great question. He said, what if they go from virtual to in school? Is that a big deal? Nope, because they're already going to be a Sharon student. We're going to have all of their information. They're just going to be coded as a virtual kiddo. And let's say you try virtual for 2 weeks and this is not for me. It's not good. Then you can just call. We'll have you verify some information and then they can just start back at school. But what will be a big deal is we're not going to do like the ping pong that we're going to do 2 weeks of virtual. Well, then I want to go back and try school for 2 weeks. Then we're going to go back to virtual. Then I'm probably going to kibosh that about the 2nd or 3rd time. But we're going to be really flexible at first, but we're not going to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, because that's not good for the kid, that's not good for the teacher or the other kids in the room. All right, thank you so much. Have a good evening.